Hello teacher, my name is Gabriela Elizabeth Martinez and today I'm going to be answering some questions of chapter number 18. The first question says, what is meant by a standard language? A standard language is a form of language that is mostly used in formal situations, like in the newspaper, in public speeches, or the school. As an example, I can mention a post in the newspaper, probably talking about economy. That could be a good example. Next question says, what is accent? We recognize that accent is the different way of pronunciation that some people have according to the region where they live. In our country, we have St. Michael's accent that we can perfectly recognize when they pronounce J instead of S. Like in words like seguro, they will say seguro. The next question is, what is dialect? Dialect is a particular form of written language that is also associated to the region or the place where someone lives. I could mention the difference among American English, British English, Indian English, and so on. Next question says, what is dialectology? Dialectology is the study of dialects that let us distinguish between two different dialects of the same language or two different languages. The next question says, what are regional dialects? A regional dialect is a variety of a language spoken in a particular area of a country. And for example, in the US, regional dialects include Appalachian, New Jersey, and Southern English. Next question says, what is a vernacular? Vernacular is a common language spoken by average citizens of a particular place, or is language used within a particular field or industry. For example, I consider as vernacular to the medical terms used by doctors when they are talking about medicines or different problems that we may have, and they are using those terms that only they can understand. Question number 10 says, what are isoglosses and what will be an isogloss in El Salvador? Well, an isogloss is a line between two different dialects of the same language, or two different languages in the same country. And in El Salvador, I can identify as isogloss to the departments that are located in the west side of our country. And I made this map and I made that line, and I think this is the isogloss, and we have the west side of the country. We can see departments like Cabañas, San Vicente, Usulután, San Miguel, Morazán, y La Unión. The next question says, what is bilingualism? Bilingualism is the ability to use two or more languages at the same time. You can learn them like growing up with the two languages, or you can learn the second languages by the time, like us. Also, there are some countries that they are officially bilingual. For example, Canada. People there speak French and English, and also Nigeria, India, and Spain, and more. Next question says, what is code switching? Code switching is basically when a speaker alternates between two different languages when they're having in the same conversation. We can see this in people that probably they were living here and they went to the US, and then when they start talking, they're like, hey, I made some taco de birria tonight, do you want to come? And then the other person will be like, oh yeah, of course, that sounds delicioso, I would love to go there and visitarte and be with you. So we can perfectly see an example of code switching. The next question says, what are levels of bilingualism? Early bilingualism is when a child grows up with the two languages Late bilingualism is when you learn the second language mostly in the adulthood or adolescence. And the passive bilingualism refers to the ability to understand a second language but not being able to speak it. The last question says, what is diglossia? Diglossia is the coexistence of two varieties of the same languages that are spoken within the same speech community. For example, in France, they speak two different types of French. For example, French from France, that is the dominant one, and French from Quebec. And that's all my participation. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Crisia Andrea Hernandez, and I'm going to continue with the chapter 18, regional variation in language. So I'm going to start with the high and low varieties. This is about the people which is classified by their speech. If they belong to the highest social rank, it's because they speak in a more sophisticated or educated way. Or if the people belong to the low social rank, is because they speak in a more native or poor way. We also have the dysglossia and social distinction. Dysglossia makes difference between people in a high social rank and people in a low social rank. Because their speech, because their pronunciation, that's the difference, the social distinctions. Also, we have the pidgin languages. Those pidgins are new languages who come from two types of languages from different countries. Pidgins are quite similar in pronunciation and in some words. The features of pidgins that are important, I think that maybe is the morphemes and the syntax. And also we have the Creole. Creole is when there are two or more languages in a region. But what happened? One language stands out more than the others and become to the main language of the person. This is all about the chapter 18. Now we have the chapter 19, social variation in language. Social linguistics, it is responsible to study the relationship of linguistics and the society. Social dialects, there are different types of languages, and we use those languages depending the social situation. About the experiment of the linguistic William, I think the same result will be in El Salvador, because in every store they have their own way to speak. And the signal marks, the social markers, there are signals that we can identify people in which social group they belong. And the speech style, we have the casual or informal style, or the formal or careful style. We speak with a person closer in a different way, and when we have a person with more authority, we speak different, and that's all.
Mrs. Aguilar, and I continue to talk about social variation in language. Other concept important is prestige, that is the direction that people give to their speeches. This can depend of the social situation, and it's believed that people of higher social status speak in correct way. Speak accommodation is when speakers of a language change aspect of this. For example, the use of convergence, that is when we use a speech for reducing the social distance, and divergence. This looks for emphasizing a social distance. And another influence in the speech style is the register. It is a social context and can help us to recognize the place where we are for the use of the specific word or jargon. This word also telos is a person, is a professional in the area. Another concept is slang. They are word or phrase for young people or group with a specific interest. This can describe something new or for a new way to call something. For example, the taboo terms that are words that don't say it usually because can offend someone or for being polite. Also, in this topic is necessary to talk about African American English. There is a variation of English used by African English that live in USA. These people are discriminated and treated as normal due to the aspect that this variation include, and is an example of the vernacular language. There is a kind of social dialect that is spoken by lower status group, which is treated as non-standard. Finally, it's important to say that African American is a particular variation of English because it's a combination of different non-standards varieties in language, as French also is easier to pick it for the accents of verb to be.